I'm going to do 21 personnel for McDaniel. And I think he majors in it. I think he wants to do a lot with a fullback on the field and a fullback who is, an actual fullback, but who can also move and be a slot tight end, a little bit of a receiver threat out into the flats. I think it's key to mention that, you've got a ton of guys in the NFL and college football who can do a lot of these things that 30 could do for him. Having said that, 30 did all of them. And so I think that's important. I'm not trying to minimize his contribution. What I'm saying is he seems very versatile, and McDaniel trusted him across a lot of, locations. It would not surprise me if McDaniel ends up in, Detroit, Baltimore, or Phil, maybe not Baltimore because of Ricard, or Philly, if 30 went with him, depending on what his contract, looks like. So I love this play. I'm going to do I formation stuff for the first two concepts. And I call this Windback zone, where all of the offensive linemen are working in this direction, illustrated by the blue lines. And then the fullback tailback tandem or combo is also working in the same direction. And I think that what they're doing, or what McDaniel is doing, is just trying to put the nickel DB in a lot of conflict. I'm talking about this guy right here. To me, when they faced Buffalo, it seemed like his mentality, McDaniel's mentality, was, I want to make Taron Johnson have to defend the run. I want to make him have to get off blocks. And I think Taron Johnson is a spectacular football player. Like, he's one of my favorite, nickel DBs across the league, along with, Hamilton, and obviously Jalen Petre. But the whole concept here is designed to get these guys moving this way initially, to match these steps by the fullback, tailback, and by the offensive line, which is what most of these guys are reading, right? And so it really sets up well for this tackle to get up to the Mike backer, and then the fullback 30 to work his way back to Taron Johnson. You will see a lot of the film with McDaniel, his fullback or tight ends, if it's split zone.
Split, yeah.
They're going to cut this backside guy on split zone a ton.
Mm-hmm.
And 30 actually, oftentimes, if that's his, if this is inverted and 30 is the kick out block on the backside, 30 is going to go low on defensive ends, outside linebackers. He'll even go low on second level guys. I mean, he does it a lot. So it's clearly taught by McDaniel. And that has an impact over the course of the game. But I think on this particular play concept, I think that McDaniel is teaching him not to cut this guy because it's designed to come back here. So he doesn't want his blocker, in this case the tight end, on the ground. He wants his blocker to have the ability to sustain or maintain this block for, a little bit longer. He doesn't really hold on to this thing really long. But if this play was designed to go here, from what I've observed, you're going to get a cut on the backside because he doesn't care if this blocker is on the ground. Does that make sense at all?
Yeah.
I call it a wind back because it's designed to come back there. Same play from the all 22 angle. It's against the Bills in this is 2024 film, I believe. So it's 21 personnel. So a typical formation that flows from it, right? You actually have a 21 personnel group and a 21 personnel formation in the form of a tight end, the one, and then two running backs, one of which is a fullback. So you kind of get an idea of it here. It's a two high safety structure by the Bills. Here's the nickel who is going to be ISO blocked or, lead blocked by the fullback. And that's who he's seeking. That's who he's seeking out post snap. You can see he's actually turning his head a little bit to move back to the top side of our screen to go get Taron Johnson. It's pretty easy to understand this one, I think, for anyone listening or watching, that he's trying to get the second level defenders to flow in this direction to set up the tackle to combo up to the Mike, because the Mike is moving in this direction. So he's giving the tackle a better angle. And then also with Taron Johnson moving in this direction, he feels like he's given that guy a better angle. Mike McDaniel, I think, does a great job of creating favorable angles for his guys to block with in the run game consistently. And that's something that I think kind of stands out from the film. It makes it look a little easier, obviously, because we got too high look, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. that plays into it for sure. The play call, where those safeties are. It's interesting. I've got Stefanski running something similar, but he runs counter later on. But
Same idea. Same idea. I think with the guys stepping opposite, I think it's very similar. Even though
yeah,
the zone here.
yep, and yeah, a little bit unusual play call too. I think for being down on your goal line.
Yeah, a lot of confidence with yes, absolutely, absolutely. I got one more that's also backed up on the goal line, but it's a little bit less unique, maybe in its design and overall scheme. This is just a lead toss, and you see this dynamic a lot. And I have to say, through watching film from 23, 24, I was I don't want to say shocked, but I was definitely impressed by the commitment by his wide receivers to block. And I mean, even Tyreek Hill, who I know has not been noted as a consistent, a reliable blocker. But I have to say that the film that I watched, at least the 7 games now that I watched, reflected well on his effort to block and actually try to do what he was asked to do. It seems like there's buy-in, in my opinion. Consistently get this pin down block of the wide receiver. It's a lead toss. They're not pulling the play side tackle, but he's using this motion. I think McDaniel was one of the guys that really started this motion off, and now it's caught on. It doesn't look different to us now. This kind of out motion, cheetah motion is Tyreek Hill all the way across and then running a dig, which is difficult to do. But I get the sense that players buy in to the blocking scheme, and that's why I'm focusing on the run game first. Whether it's Baltimore, Detroit, or Philly, if Mike McDaniel gets Derrick Henry, Saquon Barkley, Jahmyr Gibbs, I mean, he's got talent to use that is similar to this is Raheem Mostert, who's a very underrated guy, but obviously Achane is good as well. The right tackle doesn't pull here. Normally on this pin down stuff, you're pinning down and the tackle is pulling. That's not how he does this. Why? Because he's got a fullback in the backfield. So the fullback is the pulling lineman. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's a cool concept. These guys run hard. I like the offense, particularly the run game.
Yeah. So it's essentially like a pin pull, but dressed up or disguised.
And oftentimes he's running into the boundary. Yep. Yeah. Crack. Yeah. In the old days, it would crack. Yeah, exactly. But same thing. But I like the usage of motion. And a little bit later on, you're going to see this kind of one-step motion where a player goes in motion in one direction and then immediately goes back to the outside. You'll get that dynamic a couple of times in this video for the McDaniel film, that I show. These receivers are, I'm not saying they're spectacular blockers, but more often than not, they're doing their job. And I think McDaniel is making their job, I don't want to say easier because it's an NFL defensive end or edge defender. Like that ain't easy, but I feel like he's creating angles for them such that it makes their job something they can accomplish consistently. And as you said with Stefanski, I just think you see evidence of a good coach and someone who does a great job designing things.
Yes, I think these in both instances with both coaches that you can tell that these players are, number one, held to account. And number two, I think they're excited because when you coach somebody in a very direct manner and you give them that responsibility, you can see that each one of these, they all play a part, and the play won't work unless they all play that part. And if the coach is very direct, as both of these guys seem to be, you'll see things like Tyreek Hill blocking. And,
absolutely.
And things you might know. In other words, I think they get excited by the way that they're instructed and taught and understanding the entire play.